Hey, what's going on, Los Angeles? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles Sparks, and we are talking all things Rams free agency. Day 4 of the free agency frenzy. Rams did basically everything in day 1, so there hasn't been a ton to talk. We plan on going live every day if there was stuff going on, and there just hasn't really been anything since our live on Monday. So no signings since then. They have lost some pieces that we'll talk about. Plus, Cooper Kupp officially released as of yesterday when the new league year began on Wednesday. So we won't spend a ton of time. We've talked Kupp all off season, but just, a little farewell we'll give. And then looking at linebackers and tight ends, Skinny, those are the position that I think we want the Rams to focus on, potentially corner, but we can get into that later too. So we'll get into all that here on the Rams Skinny. First and foremost, Skinny T, soon to be nice fresh haircut, but still, I guess we can call it mangy for now. How you doing?
Yeah, looking a little wolfy. It's all right. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm looking at a 3-day weekend after this hard fought free agency. I'm heading up to Cambria. If you guys don't know where that is, just up the coast from Santa Barbara. It's near San Simeon where Hearst Castle is, but just a beautiful little hamlet in kind of that area of California. And we usually go at least once a year. Check out an Airbnb and sit around and eat some food and look at some antiques and stuff. It's
Cambria is like one of the most like unknown gems of the Southern California or Central California, I guess, coastline. I love Cambria. One of my good friends got married there a few years back, so we stayed. It's like the one hotel in Cambria, like it's called like the Pine Lodge or something. So the entire wedding, not just the wedding party, the entire like guest list stayed there. So we like took over the hotel and we got married in like a barn, like overlooking the ocean. Like it's beautiful. Cambria is great. I think obviously the two main spots of California are like the Bay Area and then Los Angeles, obviously San Diego too, but I kind of lump San Diego and LA together. It's just like that southern coastline. But the Central Coast to me is like from Santa Barbara up to like Monterey is like the best kept secret of America. I'm rocking a Big Sur beanie right now. Like it's just beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, what's great about it is there's just not a lot to do there, so
Yeah.
it's not attracting big crowds, but it's beautiful. And like if you can always eat, there's wine tasting everywhere. There's zip lining, there's beaches, there's sea lions and all that stuff. We don't need to sell California to anybody, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because and last thing I'll say is California is it's such a huge state, so I wouldn't say the state is necessarily overpopulated. There's a lot of places that are remote still, but the main attractions are extremely overpopulated. Obviously, yeah. LA's crazy crowded. San Francisco's crazy crowded. Like the Central Coast, like you said, you can go and like escape. Like we went camping in Big Sur last June, and it was like we were around nobody. Like it's like obviously other people camping, but like we're all spread out. You have your own area. You go to the beach in the Central Coast. You can even go up to like Carmel and Monterey, and really it's not as crowded as it is down here. So even Pismo Beach, I mean, Pismo is like well known and great. Morro Bay, like they're not that crowded. It's nice.
Solvang, everybody's got to go to Solvang once.
Solvang, hidden gem. Yeah. Hidden gem. I always thought like I'm Norwegian, so I always took pride in Solvang. I always thought it was like a Norwegian town, and it's actually a Danish town.
We're all Vikings.
Yeah, I know, but it's funny because I was there and they sell like Norwegian like paraphernalia. Like I bought like a Norwegian mug, and I'm like, what are they doing? This is a Danish town. So, but anyway, yeah. So nice rainy day here in SoCal as we wrap up the free agency frenzy. Obviously, still a lot of players out there and moves to get to, and we'll talk some linebackers and whatnot, who they can maybe target, because that is certainly a position of need. As of now, Omar Spates is the only backer on the roster, but we'll get to that in just a second. Show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. All the best money lines, game spreads. I say it every time. I don't need to keep telling you guys. You got to just go to BetOnline. Wager some money. Hopefully you win some with Tokyo series. Me and Skinny was talking about, we waking up at 3 a.m. next week watching the Dodgers and Cubs in Tokyo. We might do a little slumber party maybe. As Dodger baseball's back, Lakers, Kings, all those sports going on, plus obviously the NFL draft. They got plenty of props on for that. Plus you can bet on what we're going to talk about right now, Cooper Kupp's next team. Where is he going to end up? You can actually bet on that if you want to, if it's not too painful yet, of where he lands. All that can be done at betonline.ag. Tell them the guys at the LAFB network sent you. So let's start with that, Skinny. Cooper Kupp officially gone. gives a little farewell on social media, lists his kind of 3 top teams, which I'll let you talk about. But those 3 top teams seem to be the Seahawks, yuck, the Patriots, and the Broncos. I think the latter two, no Rams fans would really care that much about since they're in the AFC. Yeah, just your thoughts on, officially this now moving on past the Cooper Cup era.
Yeah, there's one big thought, which is he was transformative for the Rams offense. When McVay came in, he drafted Gerald Everett and then Cooper Cup. They were going to run a bunch of 12 personnel. I've told this story before, but then they find out what exactly they have in Cooper Cup and just build everything around him, essentially for that offense. So transformative for the offense, which means this offense could look a lot different than what we're used to seeing over the last, how many, every 8 years, I think we're on now. So that's pretty great. That's pretty incredible. $15 million off the cap, which covers Devontae Adams plus an extra $1 million. So that zeroes out there. So those are just kind of my last parting thoughts. Everything else I've said, we've got hours on Cooper Cup over the last 6 months. So
yeah, I know there's a lot of people smarter than me when it comes to this, but that's what I hate about the NFL cap. Like, to me, it makes, like, if you look at hockey cap figures, it's simple. You have a $6 million contract, you're a $6 million cap hit. Like, I don't get how Devontae Adams is making $26 million guaranteed and 22 base or whatever this year, but his cap hit is like 13. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
yeah,
I get the breakdown if it's a bonus versus this, but like, why? Like, why?
I have no idea.
What you make is what the cap is, right?
Well, Devontae Adams' cap hit goes way up next year, so that's a part of it. But yeah. Seattle would burn. I'm not going to lie that there will be those 2 games if he ends up there that'll just be bitter, not even bittersweet, just bitter.
Yeah, and Seattle needs receivers. I mean, they just released longtime
Tyler Lockett.
Thank you, Tyler Lockett, and obviously traded DK Metcalf to the Steelers. So they got Jackson Smith and Jigba and, Jake Bobo, for former UCLA Bruin, and
Love
they
Bobo.
need receivers. But yeah, that would be that'd just be painful. And it's sad to say, because I never like to speculate what happens behind closed doors, but from just the surface, it appears like it ended kind of not great. I don't want to say it ended horribly, but appears to be it ended a little prickly. And so it wouldn't shock me if he's like, yeah, I'm going to a division rival just to show you I still got it. Like, I want to see you twice a year and prove that, yeah, you made a mistake by just not even negotiating with me, essentially.
Would it be worse if it was the 49ers, or is it just as bad? It would be worse. Okay.
It'd be worse. To me, I think. I don't know how many Rams fans. Comment below, Rams fans, if you're on YouTube, if it would be worse if it was the Niners or if it's just equally as bad as Seahawks. Seahawks are definitely worse than, like, the Cardinals, I would say. Sure. And they would still be bad, but I think the Niners would be the worst.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wonder if any Rams fans would care if he goes to the Chargers at all.
I think they'd probably root for it, keep him around.
He's still in LA. He can, still be seen around, and all his charities that he's involved in, him and his wife. So yeah, I would think there'd be no issue with going to the Chargers. And then Broncos and Patriots again, AFC. I don't think anyone would really care.
Yeah, not at all. I want good things for him. I want him to land in a nice spot.
I hope he goes and has like a good finish his career. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, like receiver is a position that just drastically fall off. Like it is rare that a receiver goes off on top. We'll see what Adams looks like this year. But I think we were talking about, like, the only one we can really think of, like, off the top of our heads was like Calvin Johnson. Like when you think of Julio Jones, Dez Bryant, like all these guys, they were just like great and then just like gone.
Yeah.
So it was looking like Cooper Kupp's heading that way. I hope he can like rekindle some magic and have another good year or two. But obviously the Rams didn't think he would, which is why they moved on. So
yeah, they moved on because he can no longer facilitate what they want to do on offense, and it I've said it since we found out it's the right move for the team.
Yeah. Yep. And so we'll see what Adams, and obviously Sean McVay fired up to get Adams. You just wrote a piece about how it all went down, how McVay convinced Adams when he was in Japan and they met at horse racing, and McVay sent over film of what he wants to do with them. So, just an international salesman, McVay is.
Yeah. There's got to be some tampering rules that he's tiptoeing on, but hey.
I always love.
I ain't telling nobody.
I always love like now that there's like everyone and their mom has a podcast. Obviously, look at us, but like all the players have podcasts, and I just love how like they'll just divulge everything, and I'm like, you could get someone in trouble, like Puka Nakua talking about on Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast just the other day, and he's talking about things, and I'm like, that could probably be seen as tampering if someone really wanted to. Like, so I'm not sure. Someone's gonna get in trouble for these podcasts. I think these players. Who knows all the rules? But all right. So you want to start with linebackers?
Yeah.
Roll through those quickly. The Rams currently, I mean, I think they might have one or two other guys like practice squad guys, but I memean, viable actual starting talent. They got Omar Spates as a linebacker. Christian Roseboom signs with Carolina. Jake Hummel. Where did Hummel sign with? Do you know off the top of your head? Not the Rams.
I can't remember. Panthers, maybe something like that.
I think Roseboom went to the Panthers.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe they both did. So shows how inconsequential, unfortunately, those moves were. Troy Reeder, still a free agent, not re-signed by the Rams, so it would not shock me at all if they end up bringing him back just with some familiarity. But regardless, the Rams have to do something. You do not want to go into the draft with one linebacker. You just don't. I mean, you don't want to go into the draft. I say it all the time. You don't want to go with major glaring needs. You're always going to have quote unquote needs you want to filter the draft, but it's more you want to be able to build and recycle or revamp through the draft, not like just basically we're drafting for a starter. Like that is not what you want to do. Obviously that guy becomes a starter. Great. That was a great draft pick, but one linebacker. So what do you think they do? I mean, do you think there's a lot out there? I'm not saying there's any like stars left. We talked last episode, the big names, Dre Greenlaw, all these guys have already signed. So they're obviously not going to have to spend big money, I guess, which is good. But there are names out there that can be viable starters for them. Do you think they start or go after one of them, or are they legit going to wait for the draft?
I think they got to add one. And, I think they'll probably, just knowing them the way we know them, they don't care about it. Maybe Chris Shula has some more influence now on that. He was the linebackers coach. But I mean, we could be May, June before we see a signing. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily go in with the draft. They're going to, see what they get in those spring practices and then, see who's around, see who wants a couple $1 million. My alarm's going off. But there's some interesting guys in free agency that are still available. The one that's jumping off the board for me right now is Kaiser White. He was a college safety, really swift, speedy guy. But he's 29 years old, played 93% of the snaps last year for the Cardinals, I believe. And, 9 TFLs and, good amount of tackles. So, that's a guy that I would not mind to see on the Rams. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely names out. I mean, I put last night, 5 linebackers still available. The Rams could target that. I won't go into tons of depth, but apparently, Isaiah Simmons is a guy we've talked about, still only 26 years old, obviously has had not the career everyone expected him when he was the 8th overall pick back in 2020. But in 21, he finished with 105 tackles, sack and a half, 4 forced fumbles, an interception. Like the dude has talent. He's kind of that tweener we've talked about, that linebacker safety blend. And I think that's what almost been a detriment. Sometimes your versatility can be a detriment because like teams don't know exactly how to use you. And so they try kind of different variations of what that can look like. And so he never really found his footing in Arizona. Goes to New York. They've been kind of a mess anyway in New York. So hard to blame anyone that it hasn't had success there. So at 26, like I don't see why you don't give this guy a shot. Another name, Willie Gay Jr., 1 year with the Saints. Big down year last year, only 28 tackles. Again, the Saints, though, were a team that no one was good. Coaches fired. Like no one was good on that Saints team. So, he was one of those architects of the defense with the Chiefs, played his first 4 years with the Chiefs and was really instrumental in their, dominance, still dominant, but dominance of those defensive years and a starter that played alongside some of those other great defensive players before he, hit free agency and went and signed with the Saints. So I think he's a veteran at this point. I think he's still only like 28 years old, but certainly a guy that can bring a lot with him. And I think can get back to like the stats he had with the Chiefs versus last year. Roquan McMillan, another name. higher draft pick, has had kind of a really up and down career. Spent last year with the Patriots and Tennessee. Not a lot of production, but if you want to take a flyer on a guy, we talked about him a lot last time, skinny, and that's Devin White. Just the strangest career, Devin White. I mean, there's been rumors. I think we talked about it at I can't remember if we talked about it with our buddy Jesse Naylor, because he's a Niners content guy, but he lives in Tampa. So he was connected decently with the Bucks, and he had mentioned like there were rumors of like work ethic and laziness maybe being an issue. I don't know how true that is. But I mean, Devin White's the guy that had 3 straight years of 120 plus tackles. I mean, his best season, he had 140 tackles, 9 sacks, a forced fumble, and 2 picks. And then his last season with Tampa, all of a sudden production, they stopped. They did. It wasn't like his production was down. He still had 83 tackles, and then they just like stopped playing him. He ends up going to Philly, never plays a snap in Philly, gets cut, and then signs with the Texans and was there the rest of 23 and then last season, and really was just a non-factor with the Texans. But I mean, he's 27 years old, former 5th overall pick. Again, I don't see why you don't take a flyer on him unless he's like doesn't want to play football anymore. But I mean, I think the Rams, as we said many times, like they're the team that if you need a rehabilitation project, like the Rams are where you go. Like they get your career turned around. So that's probably my top choice. I would love to see Devin White given the opportunity. And one I forgot, and I'll just be honest, I just completely forgot that he got cut yesterday when I was making this list. CJ Mosley is available now.
Oh, yeah.
32 years old. So how much like run does he really have left? But obviously he would be the biggest name linebacker on the market right now that the Rams could go after and come in and, give him a 1-year contract, maybe a 2-year contract, and could help to not only mentor Omar Spates, but would be a true good starting linebacker. So I don't know if you have anything to add on those.
Well, what I like about some of those guys is their coverage ability, and when you think about what they already have on their roster with Spates, he's a run gap guy. He's not a coverage guy necessarily. So pairing him with somebody like Isaiah Simmons or Kaiser White, who have that safety experience, I think that's smart. Another name that I'm thinking, Jerome Baker, played for the Seahawks last year, kind of lost his role to Ernest Jones, 28 years old. He's got good athleticism. He's kind of that coverage guy as well. So that'd be another guy that I think would fit nicely.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So, I mean, they gotta do something. Gotta do something at this point. Like there's gotta be anyone. I mean, at this point, just bring back Troy Reader. You just need another body in the room, and you cannot go into the draft. I'll say it again. You cannot go into the draft with one linebacker on the roster, or at least one starting linebacker on the roster. That would be wild to me. So something will happen. They will sign someone. Question is who. Hopefully one of those 7 guys we listed, make us look good. Let's quickly, we'll keep this short and sweet today. Let's quickly talk tight ends, because I think that's another position that you wanted to talk about. I think that they could be needed. We'll talk corners and stuff next episode and see if anything happens over the weekend. But yeah, curious your thoughts on just the tight end position overall.
Well, I'm not really shocked that they didn't end up going with one in free agency, just seeing what the top guys ended up going for. Juwan Johnson ended up getting more than Tyler Higbee. He's getting $13 million a year from the Broncos. And then even a guy like, Evan Ingram, sorry.
Yeah.
Where did Juwan Johnson go?
He re-signed with the Saints.
He re-signed with the Saints for a big contract. And
yeah.
And, Evan Ingram coming off an injury, over 30, even he's making more than Tyler Higbee this year. He's making 11 and a half with the Broncos. So just not a lot of good options there. But, you look at Hunter Long's now off the roster. You've got Davis Allen still on his rookie contract, but, he and Colby Parkinson did not seem to, match what the Rams wanted to do at the position or match what they usually get out from Higbee. So I'm just kind of curious. And, I love some of the guys coming out in the draft. So I guess, looking forward to that is maybe where the Rams are going for. We know that they were going hard for Brock Bowers. Will they trade up this year to go after a guy like Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland, something like that? But even further down, I mean, just looking at Mason Taylor and Elijah Arroyo, kind of maybe first round, second round talents there. At 26, I mean, that's those guys I think are pretty good options. I mean, Elijah Arroyo like really jumped off the page for a lot of people for his performance at the Senior Bowl. I actually haven't checked in on his combine numbers, but I think it was a smart move to sit this one out for the tight ends for the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this draft feels like they're going to tight end at some point. Like they are absolutely, it's been well documented that Sean McVay has been wanting to add a really good tight end to this room. Nothing against Tyler Higbee, but Higbee unfortunately can never like fully stay healthy, it seems like. And when he's in, there is a true dynamic to the offense that's not there when he's out. So there clearly is a need for a good tight end, and Higbee can be that if he's on the field. He just hasn't been able to be on the field for a full season. It seems like hardly ever. Not saying he misses the entire season, but he always seems to miss a little bit of time here or there and gets banged up. So adding someone that you can groom to become like the next great tight end in this league, I think is a really important thing to this offense and to Sean McVay. So if they did free agency, Tyler Conklin's out there, Jets tight end, 30 years old. I think he was their primary tight end. So at least he brings with him some production and can play both in line and be a receiver tight end. I wouldn't hate bringing Gerald Everett back, honestly. I think if you can get him for super cheap, I think he made like $6 million last year with the Bears. He's 31 now. I'm sure you could get him for like a $3 million deal just to keep him playing football. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate that at all. He's an athletic freak. Leaves a lot to be desired in the blocking game, but hey, that's exactly why you signed Colby Parkinson, was to be your blocking tight end, and then you can get a guy like Gerald Everett to be your true receiving threat tight end. So wouldn't hate that, but I agree with you. I think the focus needs to be on the draft for this position. Linebacker, you got to go sign someone. Tight end, I wouldn't be shocked if they sign a guy for cheap, but I think because they still have Higbee, still have Parkinson, still have Davis Allen, they can focus on the draft being where they really build out that spot.
Yeah, 100%. I just see them leaning more into like a power blocking game even more, stepping up the 12 personnel where there's two tight ends on the field. I think that's probably a direction they're going to head. So I think we'll see some investment, heading into training camp. They're going to bring on several names. They usually do bring on several tight ends going into camp, just trying guys out. But I mean, they really haven't invested in quite some time. They've tried a lot of tight ends, but I mean, I think Davis Allen is probably their highest draft pick since Everett.
Yeah. Yeah. And tight end's the one position too, where for whatever reason, it's the one position you can find great value later on, and they can actually become like stars. Like when you think of the great tight ends, even looking over history, right? Like Shannon Sharp, 6th round pick. Gronk, what was Gronk, a 3rd round pick or something like that, or 4th round pick? Kittle was a 5th
Kittle.
round pick. Kelsey, 2nd or 3rd round pick, I want to say. So you can go down the list, like out, and then all the 1st round picks never seem to really become that elite level, right? Like Noah Fant was a 1st round pick. He's going on to be on his 3rd team, has really not done a whole lot. Evan Ingram was a 1st round pick. He's now on his 3rd or 4th team. There hasn't been that great 1st round. I'm not saying Tyler Warren or Colson Lovin won't be that, but it's the one position you can kind of find value. I mean, Tyler Higbee, 4th round pick. You can find value in those mid rounds, and they can actually become a real important part of the offense just because they do so much. I mean, outside of quarterback, it's the most cerebral position on the football field, which is why tight end coaches have the best path to becoming head coaches. We've talked about that before. So I think there's a lot of value they can find for that position, and it's more so now how they develop it and how they can get the best out of it. Yeah. So we shall see.
New tight end coach too. So
yeah, that was the one hire I didn't love. I'll be honest.
Who'd they end up going with?
He was with Seattle last year.
Oh, okay.
Coached under Grubb, who Grubb is now, gone. He was their OC. I can't even think of his name right now off the top of my head. But we'll see. He could be great. I think he was at Boise State with Grubb. He was at University of Washington with Grubb, and at Seattle. There just hasn't been like anything elite that I've seen developed with him. But we'll see. Obviously, I'll defer to Sean McVay coaching hires. He seems to always know what he's doing there. So I don't think there should be much worry with coaching hires. Yeah, we'll see. So, all right. Well, anything else to add? We'll keep it short and sweet today.
No, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, that's right. You got to go get those luscious locks trimmed up.
Start my weekend.
So, yeah. Well, thanks guys for hanging out with us. As always, Ramley, always appreciate you. Trying to do more and more of these as the offseason ramps up, and with free agency kind of slowing down now, we can really dive into draft content, which I'm really excited about. I think we'll have a lot of fun diving into this draft with the Rams having a lot of picks, having a first round pick for the second year in a row. So a lot to get into. And if anything happens over the weekend, I will perhaps jump on and break that down. But all of our Rams content can be found at LAFBnetwork.com. Rams LAFB is the YouTube channel. Please hit that like and subscribe. And if you're on podcast platform, Rams Skinny is where you can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. For Skinny T, I am Ryan Dowd. Everyone be well, stay dry, have a great weekend. Talk to y'all soon.